The community center at Willow Grove Estates was a fluorescent-lit purgatory, buzzing with the hum of cheap lights and the faint stench of burnt coffee. The folding table wobbled as I, Jake, faced the architectural EW committee self-appointed guardians of our suburban utopia. Linda, the HOA president, sat like a queen on a beige throne, flanked by her minions, Tom and Susan. Tom was half-dozing, probably dreaming of his garish inflatable parrot, Percival, that terrorized his lawn every summer. Susan was knitting something aggressively neutral, her needles clicking like a countdown to my doom. Linda slid my solar panel application back across the table with the disdain of someone handling a dead roach. "Jake," she began, her voice syrupy but laced with venom, "the committee has thoroughly reviewed your request for a rooftop solar photovoltaic system." She lingered on the technical term, letting it hang like a guillotine. "After careful consideration of our bylaws and aesthetic guidelines, we've decided to deny it." My stomach dropped. Deny it? Why? It meets every state guideline. The panels are sleek, black on black, practically invisible from the street. I included spec sheets, renderings, everything. Linda's smile was a practiced crescent, cold as a winter dish. "While we admire your enthusiasm for green energy, Jake, the committee unanimously agrees." She shot a glance at Tom, who jolted awake, and Susan, who paused mid-stitch, that the panels would disrupt the aesthetic harmony and property values of Willow Grove. Aesthetic harmony? My blood boiled. Linda's house was beige. My house was beige. Every house in this taupe tyranny was a shade of HOA-approved bland. What harmony? The delicate balance of off-white trim and khaki siding? "With all due respect," I said, voice tight, "Tom's got a neon green parrot named Percival squawking on his lawn half the year. And Susan, your wind chimes sound like a banshee convention in a windstorm. Those don't disrupt the neighborhood." Tom bristled. "Percival's a tradition, Jake. Tasteful." Susan clutched her knitting tighter. Linda waved them off. "Those are approved seasonal decorations and auditory enhancements. Solar panels? They're industrial." Industrial? I nearly choked. "They're modern. They save money, help the planet. You sent out that green levying newsletter last Earth Day in non-recycled paper." Linda's smile hardened to diamond density. "The CCVRS, Article 4, Section 3B, give us discretion over exterior modifications to preserve our community's character. The decision is final." I snatched the rejected application, the paper crumpling in my fist, and stormed out, the fluorescent hum chasing me like a bad dream. At home, I slammed the papers on the counter, startling my cat, Newton, from his sunbeam nap. "Can you believe this, Newton?" I ranted, pacing. "Industrial. From a woman whose prize roses look like they're auditioning for a horror flick." Over dinner, I vented to my girlfriend, Emma, who suggested smaller panels or a solar-powered lawn gnome. "No. It's not. It's the principle. They can't just say no." That night, fueled by coffee and spite, I dove into HOA regulations and state solar laws. The state protected solar access, but HOAs like ours were loophole ninjas. Reasonable restrictions was their weapon, and Linda's crew deemed my sleek panels an aesthetic crime. I wrote a meticulous appeal, citing statutes, satellite photos, and testimonials from other HOAs. 2 weeks later, a form letter arrived, rejecting me with cold bureaucracy. I was done playing nice. Sitting in my backyard, the sun mocking me with its free energy, I noticed a glint from my neighbor's chrome truck bumper, then another from a kid's plastic mirror on the lawn. Reflection. Concentration. A wild, possibly unhinged idea sparked. "Que se vazet dintamente en mido." Nothing about redirecting sunlight. I scoured the rulebook heights, mailbox designs, shrub limits, but no ban on reflective surfaces. A grin spread across my face. "If I can't collect the sun, Newton," I whispered, "I'll redirect it." Operation Sunstrike was born. I hit the hardware store, feeling like a suburban outlaw, and grabbed 3 cheap acrylic mirrors. In my backyard, I propped them on lawn chairs and Newton's scratching post. He was not thrilled. Using bungee cords, I angled them to hit a roof shingle patch. Within minutes, a thermometer taped to the spot climbed 20 degrees. It worked. My neighbor, Greg, peered over the fence. "Yo, Jake, building a spaceship?" I laughed. "Just a little solar experiment, Greg. Maximizing thermal gain, all HOA compliant." He smirked. "Looks like you're signaling aliens. Or pissing off Linda." "Science, Greg." And maybe a touch of spite. The acrylic mirrors warped in the heat, so I needed something sturdier. Finding a contractor for a custom mirror array to dodge HOA rules was like pitching a sci-fi script. Most hung up when I said, "reflects sunlight." One suggested painting my roof white. Then I found Tony's Metalworks. Tony, gruff and unfazed, listened as I described 6'4" by 8-foot mirror panels on steel posts. "So," he said, "you want giant, shiny panels blasting sunlight at your house." "For thermal gain," I clarified. "Not a death ray." He chuckled. "Wah, who? Built a chrome mousse for a guy once. This ain't weirder. Let's talk specs." Tony wasn't cheap, but he got it. Installation day was glorious. Tony's crew dug post holes, the sound of defiance. Linda appeared, clipboard in hand, face like a storm cloud. "Jake, what are these?" "Structures." I smiled innocently. "Morning, Linda." "Just kinetic light sculptures, enhancing the property's VY Sewell flair." She scoffed. "They look like missile launchers. This requires approval." I held up the CC-VA-RS. Article 6, Section 5 allows garden art under 6 feet. No rules against reflective surfaces. She sputtered, took photos, and stormed off, but couldn't stop us. By dusk, 6 gleaming mirrors stood like sentinels, angled to bathe my roof in light. The next morning, I calibrated each mirror, the beams converging into a blinding patch. The thermometer soared 30 degrees. Too much enthusiasm led to a stray beam grazing Linda's roses, purely accidental, I swear. My phone rang. Susan, wind chime queen, sounded panicked. "Jake, a light beam shot through my window. My cat's traumatized." I apologized, tweaking the mirrors. "Just calibrating, Susan. Won't happen again." The HOA's response came via certified mail, a legal tirade citing noxious active VY tie and demanding removal, with due law 100 daily fines. I fired back, citing the lack of mirror bans and calling their nuisance claim subjective. Linda escalated. A police cruiser rolled up during my morning adjustments. Officer Carter, looking bored, said, "Got a call about a blinding glare." Linda marched over, ranting about fire hazards and weaponized sunlight. I explained my legal solar experiment. Carter sighed. "Aim carefully, Jake. This is an HOA issue, not ours." Linda fumed as they drove off. The fines piled up, but I wasn't backing down. I called KVYN, a makerspace genius, and pitched automated sun-tracking mirrors. "Over beers," he grinned. "A heliostat array? Dude, that's epic. Let's make those mirrors dance." A week of soldering and coding later, each mirror had motors and sensors, tracking the sun flawlessly. Linda called an emergency HOA meeting, branding my mirrors sunflowers of doom. I countered that they reflected the community's beige glory. The lawyer's threats of lawsuits couldn't pinpoint a rule I'd broken. My loophole held. Then came the HOA picnic, a powder keg of mayo-heavy salads and simmering grudges. My mirrors hummed along, focusing light on my roof. Linda worked the crowd, painting me as a solar super VY lane. Then, disaster or destiny. A gust, or maybe KVYN's code, nudged a mirror. The beams swept off my roof, flashing across the picnic. Faces winced, watermelon trays fell, and Percival the parrot seemed to wilt. Linda's lemonade cup focused a beam onto a napkin, which smoldered briefly before being stomped out. "He's incinerating us," she shrieked, jello flying. I braced for sirens, but the beam moved, hitting Greg's struggling barbecue grill. Whoosh! Perfect flames erupted. "Nice one, Jake," Greg called. The light then bathed the wilted community flower bed, making colors pop. Susan gasped, the flowers theory alive. Finally, it hit the HOA's solar lights, which blazed in broad daylight. The crowd went from panic to laughter. Linda, jello-stained and speechless, watched her menace cook burgers, re-VYV flowers, and juice her own solar lights. She stormed off, defeated by physics and irony. The HOA backed off, fines vanished, and they passed a vague anti-mirror rule. I'd won. I submitted a new, discreet solar panel plan, hidden by a maple tree. To my shock, it was approved. My panels now hum quietly, slashing my bills. Linda tends her roses, glancing nervously skyward, maybe fearing a hidden mirror. But here's the kicker. Was I a hero for outsmarting the HOA, or a reckless jerk risking the neighborhood? Should HOAs control aesthetics, or is personal freedom worth the chaos? Could I have found a less fiery way to make my point? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button if you're Team Jake, and subscribe for more tales of suburban rebellion. Let's stir up some trouble. Comment now.